There's a message sitting in your drafts right now. Maybe not literally, but somewhere in you, there's a sentence you keep rewriting. Can you help me with something? I'm not doing great. Do you have 5 minutes? You write it, you read it back, and then you delete it. Not because it isn't true, but because some quiet voice in you asks a question you've never really answered. What if I'm too much? This isn't about being shy. It isn't about being weak. It's about something your brain learned to do a long time ago and never learned how to stop.
You know this feeling if you've ever done the math before asking for help, calculating how much your problem is worth someone else's time, wondering if your sadness is big enough to justify taking up space in someone's evening, apologizing before you've even said what's wrong, sorry to bother you. This is probably nothing. You don't have to reply. You shrink the request before it even leaves your mouth. And it doesn't stop at asking for help. It shows up in smaller places too. You order the cheaper thing so you don't inconvenience the group. You say I'm fine on a loop, like a password that ends the conversation. You help everyone else first, and quietly hope someone notices you're tired. Psychologists have a name for this pattern. It's called self-silencing, a term developed by psychologist Dana Crowley-Jack. Self-silencing is what happens when a person suppresses their own needs, thoughts, and emotions to preserve a relationship or avoid conflict. It's not that you don't feel the need. You feel it clearly. You just don't trust that expressing it is safe. Underneath self-silencing is something even deeper: perceived burdensomeness. This term comes from psychologist Thomas Joyner's research on suicide and depression. It's the belief that your existence, your needs, or your struggles cause harm to the people around you. Not that you are a burden, that you feel like one even when it isn't true. And here's the strange part. The people who feel this most intensely are often the ones who give the most. The friend who remembers everyone's birthday but never mentions their own. The one who disappears during their own crisis, because somewhere along the way, they learned one equation: love is something you earn by being useful, not something you're allowed to simply need. Here's what needs to be said clearly. This fear didn't appear out of nowhere. You weren't born believing your needs were inconvenient. Babies cry without apologizing. Toddlers ask without wondering if they deserve it. Somewhere between then and now, you learned something. Maybe it was a household where emotions were treated as disruptions. Maybe it was a parent who was overwhelmed, and your needs became one more thing on their plate. Maybe it was one moment where you asked for something and got a sigh instead of an answer. Your brain doesn't need years of evidence to build a belief. Sometimes it only needs one moment that hurt enough. This is not a character flaw. It's not weakness. It's not being too sensitive. It's a survival strategy that made sense once. You are not broken. You are patterned, and patterns, unlike broken things, can be rewritten. To understand why this fear feels so automatic, you need to understand a small structure deep in your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is your brain's threat detector. Its job isn't to be accurate, its job is to be fast. When you were young and your emotional needs were met with irritation, distance, or silence, your amygdala didn't file that away as sadness. It filed it away as danger, because to a child, the withdrawal of connection isn't just uncomfortable, it's existential. A child depends on adults for survival, so the brain builds a rule to prevent that danger from happening again. If my needs cause distance, then hiding my needs creates safety. This is where attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and expanded by Mary Ainsworth, becomes relevant. Children form internal working models, mental blueprints based on how caregivers responded to them. If your needs were met with warmth, you learn closeness is safe. If not, you learn closeness is conditional. That blueprint doesn't disappear when you grow up. It simply changes shape. It becomes the friend who never asks for anything back, the partner who apologizes for crying, the employee who hides being overwhelmed. Imagine your nervous system as a smoke detector. A healthy detector reacts to real fire. A miscalibrated one reacts to steam. If emotional expression was unsafe growing up, your detector was calibrated to early and calibrated wrong. Now, even a small, reasonable need triggers the same internal siren as real danger. Your brain isn't lying to you. It's just running outdated software, reacting to a threat that no longer exists in the same form. This is why logic alone doesn't fix it. You can know your friend won't mind helping you, and still feel your chest tighten before you ask. That's not contradiction. That's neuroscience. The amygdala reacts first. Explanation comes later. If this pattern was built through repetition, it can also be rebuilt through repetition, not one dramatic breakthrough, but many small moments. Psychologist James Pennebaker's research shows that Putting feelings into words reduces their emotional intensity. Notice the fear. Ask for something small. Let someone help you. Simply say thank you. Every time the world doesn't collapse, your amygdala quietly updates its model. Real connection isn't built by usefulness. It's built by allowing yourself to be seen and supported. Stop apologizing for existing. Replace unnecessary sorry with calm, neutral language. You cannot think your way out of this fear. It wasn't built by thoughts. It was built by experience. So it has to be unbuilt by experience too. Every time someone stays, every time you ask, every time you let yourself be seen, your nervous system learns a new lesson. You were never too much. You were simply taught to believe you were.